Here's your wrestling news for March 25th, 2023, and we're kicking off today with Smackdown as at long last, the rumored match between Rey Mysterio and Dominik has been made official. After Dom helped LA Knight defeat Rey, he went on to insult his mother and sister who were sitting at ringside, and this proved to be the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. Finally, after months of fans wanting to see it, Rey clocked his disrespectful son and accepted the challenge to a match at WrestleMania 39. The fans, both in the MGM Grand Arena and online, erupted in support of Rey, and we can't overstate how well the father and son have done in this feud. Special props have to be given to Dominik, who has played his role to perfection and has come a long way from being the talented, albeit slightly nervous offspring of the future Hall of Famer. Both Rey and Dominik are capable of putting on great matches, and that's what we expect to see next weekend. But who do you predict will be standing tall in Los Angeles? If the rumors are to be believed, WrestleMania Saturday will be headlined by SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley, making Flair the first woman to headline multiple WrestleManias. Many feel that there are other matches more deserving of the spot, namely the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos bout, and last night's SmackDown did Charlotte no favors. With 7 days to go before what is, in theory, the biggest match of her career, Flair cut a promo that was almost entirely forgettable. In fact, minus the name-dropping of Sasha Banks and the Bella Twins, this promo wouldn't have been out of place at a WWE live event, never mind being on the build to the main event of WrestleMania. Whether this promo causes WWE to go in a different direction for the Night 1 main event, it's impossible to say right now, but between this lackluster segment and the fact that there was no face-to-face with Ripley, WWE would be wise to keep their options open for the WrestleMania main event. WrestleMania news now, as this year's biggest event of the year is now just 7 days away, and WWE has a stacked card across the two nights. Typically, WWE will save its surprise returns for the Raw after WrestleMania, but WWE may not wait until Monday this time around. In The Observer, it was reported that several absent names could be returning during the show itself, including Randy Orton, whose return to TV following a severe back injury is said to be imminent. Matt Riddle is also cleared to compete after finishing a stint in rehab months ago, and Shinsuke Nakamura is also listed in The Observer's report. AJ Styles' ankle injury suffered in December of last year was expected to keep him out of action for 3 months, which would mean that the Phenomenal One could make a phenomenal return next weekend. With reports of WWE trying to find another opponent for Bobby Lashley to replace the absent Bray Wyatt, there's no shortage of possible names WWE could call upon, and who would you like to see make a surprise return at the Showcase of the Immortals? One mega name we know will be at WrestleMania 39 is John Cena, who will compete for a title for the first time in nearly 2 years when he takes on United States Champion Austin Theory. Thanks to his busy Hollywood schedule, any match from Cena is an even bigger deal than before for the 16-time world champion, and fans won't have to wait long to see him. During SmackDown, it was announced that Cena vs. Theory will be the opening match for WrestleMania Saturday in what will be an explosive opener to the show. If Cena wins, he will tie Ric Flair for the most US title reigns at 6, but Theory won't be making things easy for one of the greatest of all time. If you've been following AEW closely, then odds are you won't have seen Miro as of late, as the Bulgarian has been kept off of TV for months. It's been reported that Miro isn't injured or suspended, but that AEW has no plans for him, but we now know of one plan that didn't go through. The Observer reports that Miro had at one point been slated for the Full Gear pay-per-view, but the Bulgarian turned the idea down. Given that the plan was for Miro to lose a Battle Royal, in which he would have been the last person eliminated by Hangman Adam Page, the former TNT champion felt that being brought back to lose after so long away would have been a waste. Given that Miro and CJ Perry have been in Bulgaria for the past month, it's clear that the former Rusev doesn't expect to be used anytime soon, and time will tell when, if ever, he's used next. Now, if you believe WWE's side of things, Vince McMahon is back in WWE to simply oversee the sale of the company and nothing more, but this week's Raw certainly had McMahon's fingerprints all over it. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it is reported that for this week's Raw, one superstar had to reshoot their entire segment after using the word wrestling, one of McMahon's banned terms. With the exception of WrestleMania, McMahon banned the use of the W word on WWE programming to set his company apart from the competition, which is why the wrestlers are superstars. The Observer didn't note which superstar had to reshoot, but it did acknowledge that both Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes were able to use the term wrestler during their segment on Raw. McMahon and WWE may insist that he's not pulling the strings in creative, but this week's Raw tells a different story, as perhaps the chairman isn't as far removed as some may think. Now, Cora Jade hasn't been seen on NXT programming in months, despite being in the midst of a storyline at the time of her departure. The last time we saw Jade in the ring, she was set to face Laya Valkyria, but the match was cancelled, and now we have an update on the young superstar. In the Observer, it's reported that Jade has been out with an injury, but there's no specifics on what issue has kept her out of the ring for close to 3 months now. This injury comes at a very interesting time, as both she and Roxanne Perez have been out, and out of the NXT Women's division, these two are the ones many consider to be the next top stars in WWE. While Perez is expected to return imminently, there's no confirmation on Jade, and we wish both of them a very speedy recovery. Earlier this week, CM Punk fired off an explosive comment on social media in which he denied a recent report stating that he refused to lose the AEW World Championship to Jon Moxley. In that post, Punk took aim at Chris Jericho, calling the inaugural AEW World Champion a liar and a stooge, but this post on Instagram didn't last long. Punk would delete the post shortly after sharing it, and his decision to remove the post may have come from AEW themselves. On Twitter, Brian Last, a pro wrestling insider, shared some pages of the AEW Handbook, which dictate how talent should conduct themselves at all time. In the document, it said that AEW prohibits public criticism of its fellow team members, a rule Punk clearly broke in his social media rant, as well as his comments at All Out. While the document does say that insults online are allowed to be used to continue storylines, that isn't what's happening now, and when in doubt, a wrestler should run their social media comments and posts by AEW's head of talent relations, Christopher Daniels. Fightful Select would later add that as far as Punk's injury, it is believed by some in AEW that he will be medically cleared very soon if he hasn't already. While Punk reportedly wants to come back to AEW, the Chicago-made wrestler is doing himself no favors, and we doubt Tony Khan will be thrilled with what he's seen from the suspended wrestler. And we're ending today with Smackdown, as Cody Rhodes was in action after last night's show went off the air. After the cameras stopped rolling, the former AEW TNT champion teamed up with the Street Profits for a 6-man tag team match against the Usos and Solo Sikoa of the Bloodline. Next week will be the most important week in the career of the American Nightmare, who will face Solo Sikoa on Raw before challenging for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship at WrestleMania 39, and Cody Rhodes plans to finish the story